Welcome to Peachtree Injury Talk with attorney Jordan Jewkes.
Hello and welcome to Peachtree Injury Talk with Jordan Jewkes. Jordan strives to give injured victims a voice and provide strong advocacy against an often broken system. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today's episode is Hidden Dangers, Common Social Media Mistakes After an Auto Accident. Jordan, good to see you again.
Hey, happy to be here.
All right, so here's a topic. This is an interesting topic. Social media is obviously in our culture in all sorts of different ways. There's some positives, there's some negatives. How has the rise of social media changed the landscape of auto accident injury claims in recent years?
Gosh, that's a really good question. And I would say in two ways. One of them is that social media has become somewhat of an autobiography that all participants of make. And by that, I mean, when we post on social media, we are giving details about our life and those around us. And once we put them up there, they don't go down.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of telling people not just breadcrumbs, but sometimes, hey, here's a photo album of my life the last year. So that's the first way. The second way, I think, is it's introduced a massive flow of attorney advertisements into this space, into personal injury, that most people didn't have before. And what's happened is businesses who aren't attorneys, what we call lead generation companies, for-profit companies that do nothing other than try and get people who've been injured to sign up with them so that they can farm out their case to some law firm in New York or Florida. And so there's massive advertising now. Most of it is they pretend to be law firms, but not real law firms. That is going on in social media.
What are some of the dangers of getting in with some of those people, the people that you're talking about, the farms?
Well, yeah, I mean, not all of it is dangerous, but some of the massive dangers is they'll say, hey, look, we can promise you a settlement of this amount. And next thing you know, you're working with an attorney who doesn't really have a specialty in Georgia or whatever state you're in. And you've not gone with someone local. You're not gone with someone who knows the area. And you realize that maybe time has passed or something has happened on your case that would have been prevented from a local attorney. I would generally say if you found your attorney by clicking on an advertisement on social media, you probably need to do some research on local attorneys or attorneys with good reputations within your community. Go with those ones first and not one that's just advertising. If you don't know the name of your attorney from the advertisement, you're probably going down the wrong river.
Yeah, I was duped once on Instagram. Thought I was getting a real good deal on some clothes that I wanted, so shirts that I wanted.
Yeah, I mean, and that's
never got them, just so you know.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, Kevin, because the advertisement has become really, really tricky and luring, and they'll say things like, "Hey, do you want max settlement for your injury? We have people that settle for $100,000, and they throw these things out there, and they use words like max and settlement and best recovery, and these words that are really appealing to someone who's just been injured, and they're sitting on their couch saying, "Gosh, what do I do? I can't go to work." And it's super easy just to click on that, right? And you go through some funnel, but you never really know who you're working with. That's the problem with it. And frankly, I wish the law would do something to curtail that, because in my opinion, it does more harm than good.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And there's a lot of different situations where you see that stuff, and yeah, it's risky because you don't know where you're going. You could go to a really legitimate looking website that seems like, but if you're not talking to someone, that's a good red flag, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, if your lure in signing with a law firm was on social media because they're flashing a check in front of you saying, "Hey, this is what other people have recovered," I mean, just think about that. I mean,
yeah,
that's pure advertisement. There's no substance behind it. It's not real. You got to be real careful with that.
So how can social media posts hurt someone's case in a personal injury claim?
Yeah, and this is something we deal with all the time, and we advise our clients all the time. You've got to be careful about what you post on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, because those posts on social media don't go away. And so my advice to my clients is be really careful with what you post on social media, and know with certainty, no question about it, the insurance company is going to check your Facebook account, Instagram, whatever it is you post on there. And very often, like you hear on TV, what you post on there can hurt you. Anything you say can and will be used against you in court. Anything you post on social media can and will be used against you in court.
That's a good way to, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Everyone knows that phrase. So just put social media in there instead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the same thing. You're making statements and posting photos out into the world. And the thing about it is you can't go back and delete them either. I mean, physically you can, but the law, there are punishments within the law, what we call sanctions. If you post something about a car wreck and then you take it down to try and wipe it, that's not allowed. And so you got to be real careful what you post on social media.
Are there ever situations where posts on social media can help a case?
Yeah, I mean, I would say you got to be careful with it, but social media, and if you're being very honest about it, then I think it can help your case. Typically, the best thing to do is just to be careful and not post anything. I mean, if you want to post, about kittens or your dog, that's great. But if you're claiming in an injury or in an accident that you've got a significant injury, and then you're out, water skiing and you post
snowboarding.
Yeah. And it's not that those things can't happen in the context of an injury. It's usually that they can happen with more, they don't happen without difficulty. But the insurance company will take those images and they'll use them against you and they'll say, hey, look, this guy doesn't deserve a penny because he was able to snowboard on the green bunny hill, once after his wreck. And so it's easier just to avoid having those conversations with the defense and to not give them that fodder. So I just, there's nothing really great that comes of social media after you've been in an injury. I think the best advice is to avoid it.
What other mistakes are common that people make besides like your example of the, snowboarding or water skiing after a wreck? Are there other common things you see people do that hurt their case?
Yeah, I mean, we see it on the other side as well. I mean, Kevin, we had a case where our client got into a car wreck with another driver, and I think it was a head-on collision. Both parties kind of were banged up. I think our client ended up going to the emergency room, and there was a dispute as to who was at fault. And the other driver was blaming our lady, our female client. And then, at the scene, he was blaming her, of course, but then he went on to social media later on and he posted some very, what should I say, unappealing things about our client on social media, just words that weren't good. But more importantly, and worse for him, is he posted some things that were not consistent about what his lawyers were presenting about the case, if that makes sense.
Oh, wow.
In addition to some stuff that I just think in today's society you don't want to put on social media. Let me just put it that way. And so when we found those posts, and they weren't hard to find, but when we found them, we brought them to his attorney and said, hey, check these out. These are now considered evidence because he's talking directly about our client. He's talking directly about the wreck. And it's not exactly something that's going to look good on him in court. And, to the credit of his attorney, she quickly got the insurance company to pay, what they could on the case, a fair amount on that case.
Yeah, I don't understand people sometimes. They don't really think things through. I know we all make mistakes when it comes to posting or doing something that maybe saying something, maybe just put it that way. We've all said things that we go, oh, I wish I wouldn't have said that, But yeah, some people take that to a whole new level.
Yeah, I think the good rule of thumb is just think twice before you put something on there. And that doesn't even go for like trials or personal injury. It's just good sense in life. Is just, you don't need to put everything about your life on social media, and just know whatever you put up there is generally not coming down.
Was there a point kind of like at the early stages of social media where it was not admissible, or has it always been allowed to be put into a trial?
Yeah, I mean, there I would say probably in the early stages of it, there was a lot of pushback on it about what was admissible and what isn't. But I think most courts now generally find that it is admissible. Now, I mean, social media has been around pretty prevalently for over 20 years. And so I do think there are limits to what can go on there. I mean, if you're having photos of your firstborn child, I mean, there's no reason that a jury should look at that when you were claiming that you were injured, in the last year and your child's now 20. So things in the far distance that have nothing to do with that are truly considered more private, I would strongly argue those aren't admissible. But if you post something about your health condition, or especially about the injury itself, I think there's going to be a good argument that that's going to be admissible.
I feel like the perception has changed over the years. I've done a lot of hiring for jobs that I've had in the past. And I remember at first it was like you were kind of considered like creeping on somebody if you were looking them up on Facebook to see like what, as a potential employee, it was like, oh, that's weird. Why are you doing that? Now it's like expected. That's commonplace.
Social media, like it or not, is a reflection of who you are. And right. So if you're posting things on there that are unflattering, in society or about your case, then those things may come back to bite you. I've certainly seen things on my friends' sites or on people that I associate with that has caused me to sort of question, oh, I didn't realize this person had this opinion or fighting for that point of view. Maybe that's something that I need to be careful of.
Yeah, maybe I don't know them like I thought I did.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And in a personal injury context, you do not want to find out something about your client that, on social media that they didn't tell you. And so you kind of got to be careful with that. There are actually services now that, for a pretty reasonable price, a flat fee, they'll go in and they'll scrub. That's probably not the best word. They will go in and really thoroughly document everything in your social media, even give you a good example. They'll say, hey, Kevin shows this on his social media profile. So he is this type of voter. He's this type of juror. He's this type of person just from his social media. So you got to be really careful about that stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. And I was going to ask, have you had situations where things sprung up on you by you checking your client's social media or being like, do you ever have to say hey, I need to look at your social media just to see if there's anything that we need to worry about? And then you look at it and you go, oh God, no.
I mean, you want people have to live their life, right? I mean,
sure.
That's the thing is, and we hear this from the defense all the time. And I'll tell people, be careful what you post on social media, but I'm not going to tell them never to post on social media. And so, sometimes it'll happen that someone, has been injured, they've been in a car wreck, and they'll go on vacation to Florida, right, with their family. And they'll post a photo of them, like the classic photo of their feet, pointing out towards the beach, and they're sitting there relaxing. And the insurance company always tries to make hay of that photo. And they'll say, oh, you were on vacation. Must not really injured. It's like, well, no. I mean,
sitting on a beach, dude.
Right. It's not like they're jumping, going parasailing. I mean, they're sitting on a beach. Is there a law that says you can't drive 4 hours down to the beach and actually try and relax and forget about the pain that you're in? No. Yeah. And so, I mean, most folks, it's in most cases, it's not an issue. But yeah, there's been times where I've been like, when they asked you what happens, honestly, as in a deposition when you're under oath, and they ask you like, hey, have you been out of the state? And they'll usually ask you that when they've looked at your social media and they can tell you've been to Florida or you've gone to Disney World or something. And just in your quick response, you'll say, no, I don't ever remember going out of state, but you've posted that on social media. It can sometimes look consistent, and an inconsistency to the insurance company is a lie, a big bad lie. Right. So it's more just, hey, if you put it on there, know what you put on there and be able to explain why you went to Florida for spring break,
Do you have any specific examples or of when social media helped you or hurt a case that you were a part of?
Yeah, I mean, certainly that example with the guy that made those really unflattering posts, and
that one, yes, for sure,
pretty crazy things on there. But there's a lot of times where social media has been able to document or people tend to document in an ordinary, typical setting their sort of major life experiences. Hey, I went to a wedding, or I went to this concert and had a good time. Very normal. I'm not saying I do that all the time, but there's nothing wrong with that. But then you get in a wreck, and then when those posts kind of cease, the question is, well, why didn't you post? Well, was it to protect against, showing that you're having life experiences, or is it because you actually don't have those experiences anymore because you're in pain? And so, if the defense is going to argue, hey, you never post on social media anymore, it's because you're trying to protect yourself. Well, no, it's because I'm not physically able to go on a cruise. I'm not physically able to go to my sister's wedding, across the nation. I couldn't make that drive to visit family that I normally do. And so the lack of social media can help a case as well.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Other than just being careful about what you post, are there other pieces of advice you give to clients or maybe even potential clients listening to this about privacy settings, about different aspects of social media other than just what they're posting?
Yeah, I mean, I don't get too involved in the privacy settings and those different things. I'm not on social media personally that much. We certainly utilize it in our business and with my close family and friends. I'd just say, Kevin, obviously you need to live your life and be authentic to who you are. That's never a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. But I think if you're going to live your life and do all the activities that you are involved in, and you want to post those on social media, again, which is if that's what you want to do, that's your prerogative. you can't do those and expect to have a high value on your claim that you may think you're entitled to. Part of an injury claim is that this injury has negatively affected my life, and that needs to be authentic. And if it's not authentic, then that's a problem.
And it's important always to remember that the defense is going to look at everything they can to reduce or negate that dollar amount that you're hoping for.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, with certainty, and we go into mediation or we go into settlement mode all the time where we start talking to the insurance companies, and they'll ask us, and they will literally say to us, hey, have you seen your client's Instagram recently? Or have you seen your client's Facebook?
The last thing you want to hear.
Yeah. And fortunately, most of the time we are prepared for that, and we'll say, well, yes, and here's what it is. But that to the insurance company, that's the smoking gun of their defense every time. That's their golden nugget that they always pull up at mediation or at settlement conferences where they say, oh, but we have this. So normally we know about it. It's something that we're prepared to talk about. But hey, again, you just got to be real careful with it.
I think that's the way, the perfect way to wrap it up. Be careful with your social media.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us on Peachtree Injury Talk with Jordan Jewkes. To connect with Jordan and his team, visit jewkesfirm.com, and please like and subscribe to our channel and leave us a review. Jordan, always great to see you. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.